First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for coming. It's a special opportunity for me to be here. And every time we participate in an event, the only objective we have is to reach the heart and mind of one person. And hopefully we can do that today. The focus is a little bit less technical than what you're probably used to, but it's equally important. Today we're going to be speaking about how AI can be turned into action and inspiration. The beginning, my story. I was homeless for 1.5 years. You probably have a certain image of what homelessness is. It's not just someone who has drug problems, and it's not just someone who has mental health issues. We had just received 300,000 euros in investment, which was poorly managed by one of the partners, and my first son was born. I was making 3,000 euros a month, but I couldn't pay everything I had to. So I found myself in a situation in which I had 35,000 contacts online. I had the entrepreneurial spirit, and I wanted to change my situation and get out of homelessness. This is how Homeless Entrepreneur started. We need AI in you. As I walked around, I tend to believe that the biggest value is the audience. That means every single person that's listening right now. I just try to move that value into places in which we can help end homelessness for those that are willing to tell their story and work to get off the street. As you can see, a few people have signed. I've been speaking with every single person that I could in CogX, trying to figure out how we can use AI to speed up the process. You may ask yourself, how can AI speed up the process of ending homelessness? Think about something really simple. What's the pattern of how professionals become homeless and how homeless become professionals again? It's not something we normally ask ourselves, and I'm going to explain an example afterwards. But if we're able to match the jobs with the homeless people, and we're able to match the right training so that way they can get those jobs, we get rid of the stress of trying to get back into the professional world. I myself sleep in the street once every month, and I've been doing that for the last 22 months. Every time we have an event, I sleep in the street to remind myself how urgent it is to actually solve this problem. I slept in the subway near London Bridge 2 days ago. It's very uncomfortable. I slept to a guy who was ex-military, and I had an AI book on how we can use AI for good, and I used that for my back, so that way it was not as cold. Okay? What can we do? This is probably the most important thing. How can people participate? In order to end homelessness, what we've done is we're working with a company in Pakistan, trying to figure out how we can unite the AI community to make this happen through open source. We're looking for data scientists, people that can gather data, community outreach and growth, facial recognition, and also using blockchain. One thing that we do with blockchain is something that's really basic, which is called transparency. When people participate in the process, we want to make sure they know where their money is going and how it's spent so they can participate in this process. And if you're interested, you can take a picture here, because the main thing is turning AI into action and inspiration. I can speak about a lot of things. Maybe you're interested, maybe you're not. But the most important thing is how we can get all the great minds together to think about how to solve this problem. And you can do so by signing up here. Here's a question. Can Homeless Entrepreneur end homelessness for everyone? Many people ask, how do you end homelessness for everyone? And the answer is no. It's not possible. What we're doing is we're focusing using HI, human intelligence. We can target about 20% of the population that's homeless, that's willing to tell their story, which creates transparency and credibility, and willing to work to get off the street. This is the most important thing. A lot of people ask us how we reach homeless people in the street. I tell them we go hunting people in the street with sticks until we find them. It doesn't work like that. What we do is we work with the people in the program, and we create success stories. And you can see it on television. You can see it in Deutsche Welle. You can see it in BBC. You can see it in local newspapers. You can see it on the radio. We had 2 homeless people having a discussion about how they're getting off the street on national radio between Madrid and Barcelona. When was the last time you heard 2 homeless people discussing what they were doing to get off the street on national radio? You probably haven't heard that. We also believe that through AI, we can help 30 to 40%. It's important to understand that AI is a way to leverage what we're doing, okay? But you also need human intelligence to supervise what's going on. Here's a question. Who here knows a homeless person? Does anyone raise your hand if you know a homeless person? Okay, that's a few people. What's that person's name? Jamila. Where is she from?
I'm not actually sure.
Okay.
A detail that I know about her.
Okay. This is basic information. When we talk about big data, we need to have the right information. How can we solve the problems if we don't have the right data set? Okay. Would you like to help that person?
Yes.
How can you help her?
I believe that we need to address structures.
Structures?
Structures in society that cause homelessness.
For example? For example, could you give an example of how we can improve the structure?
Okay. I think that we need better social protections in society so that when people are falling to a level where they can't cope themselves, we as society support them through, for example, benefits.
Okay. One thing that we try to focus on, normally people receive support for what they don't have. 35% disability, they get rewarded for that. When we're working with someone and they have 35% disability, we say you are capable, and we focus on the 65% that they can do well. And you'll be surprised what happens when you stop focusing on what people do wrong and you start focusing on what they do well. The first homeless person we worked with was named Marcos. It's very difficult to get a person in the street to work and let them know that they don't need to work, they can't survive, because they can survive without working. I asked him, what are you willing to do 40 hours a week or more? And he said, I love writing poetry. So what we did was I stopped inviting him to coffee, which is quite expensive, 1 or 2 times a day. And he started paying for his coffee with his poetry. The result is a book. He published a book in which now he can generate money. This is a small scale. But what we're trying to do is understand how we can use AI to match the talent and the professional skills of those that want to work to get off the street, so that way they can actually do that. This is really important because it helps us reduce the gap. Giving a voice. This is a very cold, cold place. This was taken in Davos during the World Economic Forum. We tend to go to places as unofficial guests. We went there and we tried to give a voice to the homeless people, which we did. We didn't know where we were going to sleep. We ended up going to a teepee and sleeping 6 below zero. That's very, very cold. But I'll tell you something. When you focus on telling a story that's coherent with who you're working with, people listen to you. If I'm not mistaken, it costs about $20,000 plus $55,000 to participate in the World Economic Forum. We were able to participate in the same way as other people because people wanted to hear our story so that way we could help others. And we also realized something really important. Poverty kills. This is something you need to understand. There are no homeless people in Davos because it's so cold they can't live there. Another thing when we talk about AI is understanding weather. Weather affects homelessness. There are zones in which people cannot be homeless because they will literally die. Creating job opportunities. This is at Mobile World Congress. We try to be coherent. And what we did was we slept in front of the Mobile World Congress, and one of the guys we were helping was a technician. He was a telecom technician. He had a sign that said, I'm a homeless telecom technician. Will you give me a job? Will you contract me? As a result, he was in local, national, and European news. He then got a job, and he's now working in an IT company. This is one example of how human intelligence can do that. Imagine what happens when we start using artificial intelligence. AI for good. Because we had the opportunity to explain our story, we got invited to the United Nations to explain how we believe the AI community can get involved to help speed up the process of ending homelessness. As a result of telling our story there and getting the AI community to act, we were then put in contact with Tabitha from CogX. And we've had the opportunity to be here. And we hope that we reach at least one person here so we can create a snowball effect. Because the most important thing is how we can speed up the process using the right tools, and connecting people with the opportunities they want. This is something that we want to do, and we're actually doing. Fear is a reaction, courage is a decision. This is when I was homeless. I reacted. I created a solution for myself because it was extremely uncomfortable. I wanted to change my situation. I reacted out of fear of sleeping in the street and not being able to get out. We're here because we believe that the people in the audience can be courageous and do it before they actually get there. I don't think it's necessary for every single person to experience homelessness to help. But everyone is much closer than being homeless than they think. I was speaking with the top director, and he said, I'm concerned if I lose my job, I can't pay everything I need to pay. The idea is not to be afraid, but it's to be courageous and to do what we can so that way we can prevent it and actually speed up the process. And I was speaking with Ahmed, who's in front of me, and we were discussing that homelessness should not exist, but we recognize it does. But if we ignore it, it will last forever. And all we're trying to do is to get people like you all to think how they can spend a very small percent of their time, money, energy, and effort to solving a problem that we can solve. We slept out in the royal wedding in front of Windsor. It's kind of strange because the people that slept there every day were invited to move. Not the same way you read in the press. Okay, I have to make that clear. But then people that don't normally sleep in the street were invited to sleep in the street. It was a bit strange, but we were there, and we helped give a voice to the people that wanted to have an opportunity. All we're trying to do is get people to participate. And it's not just homeless people, and it's not just people that can help. It has to come from both sides. It has to be everybody saying, can I do something? Do I want to participate? And the answer can be no. You can say, I don't want to. That's cool. You can do that. But if you do, you have to ask yourself, how can I best help? A lot of people focus on assistance, food and clothing, correct? A lot of people donate food, clothing. There's nobody starving in Barcelona. There's nobody walking around naked unless they're at a special party because they're going to get married. Okay? But the reality is, people need and want to work. How can we get rid of that stress so that way they can have the right job? I'll give you an example. I was in Haiti with the IDB, trying to find entrepreneurs that could receive investment from expats in New York City and also DC. I got a message in LinkedIn looking for a programmer. One of the guys in the program, Paco, was a programmer. So I got him an interview. He got the job. He then donated 10% of what he made for the first 6 months to help other people in the program. 4 months ago, he became a father for the first time. That kind of stuff gives us chills. And that kind of stuff should show that it is possible. And if we're able to use human intelligence to help 8 people get off the street through sustainable work and housing, and have 16 people in the program and 156 by the end of the year, imagine if we use the amazing technology that people are creating here. How do we do that? It's also important to know we're all vulnerable, not just the people we help, also us. The first thing is I wanted to help, and I thought I could help anyone. This is Marcos. He's the first person we spoke about. I fought by his side for an entire year. This is him and his dog. He would never let that dog go. He preferred to be homeless than enter a home without his dog. It's family for him. The concept of family is different sometimes. I learned a lesson that not only he was vulnerable, I was too. I gave everything, but if the other person doesn't give all of what they can give, or they don't make certain decisions in their life, in his case, stop using heroin. I had to realize, as much as I loved him and as much as I gave him everything I had that I could, and also the association, if he didn't make that decision, we couldn't help him in the short term. That was a turning point in the association because we realized that we had to redirect people that had serious mental health issues or drug problems to other entities so they could work with them. But we're vulnerable, and we're learning, and this is what we're trying to do. And if you know anything about AI, it's about the process of trial and error and trying to improve what we do as a society. Current context, we have 7 professionals from the US, Spain, Venezuela, Italy, and Morocco in the executive team. The board of advisors from the US, UK, Spain, Brazil, Pakistan, France, and we have more than 250 volunteers. We're currently looking for 1.5 million so we can have a strong structure and internationalize in a much faster way. This is where we're at. It's important to understand the size of where we are and where we want to go, and also the role of technology, blockchain, and AI to make that happen. Who influences us? This homeless person on the left. I have never seen anyone hustle harder than him. If you ever, is anyone going to New York City this year? Raise your hand. No one? Okay, one person. When you go to Times Square. Look for this guy. Ask for a picture. Tell him Andrew said you'd give him a free picture. See if he does it or not. He makes about $300 in an hour and a half, 2 hours, taking pictures of foreigners and showing it on an iPad and getting them to pay 50, 60 euros in about 2 minutes. He hustles. He's a homeless entrepreneur. He inspires me to do what I do better so that way I can help him change the situation. Does anyone here like football? I suppose 1 or 2? Okay, 1. Okay, no one here likes football. Okay, cool. This is the president of Football Club Barcelona. Beto was selling Kleenex in front of Plaza España. He sold Kleenex to buy a 700 euro camera. That might take you a while. He actually did it in a month and a half because people weren't buying the Kleenex, they were buying his story. Now he has a 4,000 euro camera and he's doing pictures for press conferences for Football Club Barcelona. Does anyone recognize the person on the right? Yes, no, smaller picture, not very famous, has not contributed to science at all. Roger Penrose, have you heard of that guy? He worked with Stephen Hawking. I had an opportunity to speak with him when we were in the United Nations, and I asked him, how do you think the AI community can speed up the process of ending homelessness? And his response was, I never really thought about that. Which is, I think, the response of most people when we're walking around in CogX. And we believe that if we can get people to participate in a way that they want to, we can do something amazing and we can speed up the process of ending homelessness because it just takes a very small piece of time and energy to do that. How can you actively make AI speed up the process of ending homelessness? I would like you to raise your hand if you think that you would like to participate in the process of creating solutions for homeless people. 1, 2, okay, so, whoa, okay, that's a lot of people. Okay, you raised your hand. How do you think you can add value? He's a data scientist.
And some of the stuff you mentioned before, matching people to jobs, matching that kind of thing, I think is really interesting.
Okay, so participating as a data scientist. Another person that raised their hand? Someone that really believes they'd like to participate? There were a lot of hands up before. They all went down now. There, the 2 women over there. Separately, probably.
So maybe we could start with helping you collecting the right amount of data.
Okay, defining the right data that should be collected.
So that then we can use machine learning as a second step to see how we can optimize and maximize, I guess, efficiencies in finding the right pathways for the right people.
Okay, thank you very much. The other woman?
I worked briefly with a charity who works with another charity called BedSafe, and they have basically created an algorithm which brings together empty hostel rooms.
Okay.
So that is a
Perfect. Okay, because we have 18 minutes, and I have to make sure it's 18 minutes, if you're interested in acting and you're really serious about it, please continue the conversation afterwards. The only way we're going to make this happen is if people act within what they can do. And everybody can do something. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. It's been 18 minutes, and I hope that we can actually act to speed up the process thanks to AI. Have a wonderful day.